you know, as you think of the human journey, the evolution of our self,
Yeah.
that there is a purpose behind maybe a soul, if you think that that's something that's
Okay.
that's relevant in your thinking.
Yeah.
And in that play out, that the soul has, you know, a karmic sort of cycle that that's wanting to manifest in this particular time.
Right.
And that where does that, or how does that play out? I mean, is that in the integral sort of arena?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. Well, there's sort of two, let me give a sort of a third person and a first person account of that. Third person account, sort of objective or theoretical account, you can indeed talk about sort of a soul's trajectory and a soul's journey, and it can include karma, and it probably includes reincarnation if you start thinking about it. It's very hard not to think about issues like this without introducing reincarnation at some point. The same way that if you think about Mozart composing symphonies at age 4, reincarnation, psychologists have no idea how that stuff happens. They also, if they tell you the truth, psychologists have no bloody idea why or how human beings transform. We have no idea why they transform. Why do some people just take off and then stop at blue or orange? And why are some people hell-bent for these higher stages of development? We really don't know. And so we can, you know, reincarnation can help explain that, but it's very, a lot of questions about exactly what that means and why somebody is pursuing this versus bartending. But that, we can discuss more of those third person aspects if you want. I can give you some mild thoughts on the theoretical aspects of that. But the first person aspect is, what are we doing here? I mean, actually, what each one of us, as you sort of look inside and find that first person impulse, that's what I find fascinating. Because it's really brought all of us together. And in each of us, it's a thing that I think we have to come to terms with, is a very paradoxical kind of drive when it comes to waking up or enlightenment or liberation. And one of the sides of the paradox has been presented already in the sense of big mind and big heart. And what you notice from that is that really in the very, very deepest sense, it is exactly your present condition, your present awareness. And fundamentally, there's never been a time when you weren't in touch with that. You might not have noticed it, but the non-grasping, non-seeking mind has always been some part of the awareness you had. You often didn't notice because you were seeking or grasping, and that's okay too. But it's not the notion, and the Zen masters, among many others, constantly hammer this point home. If you think you can attain enlightenment, just that is what's preventing it. Literally is unattainable. The only thing that's unattainable is what you already have. So it's like saying, I'm going to go out and attain my nose. Which is, if you want it, go ahead. But, you know, it's like a lot of chasing around. So that's one side of the paradox. I mean, it really is closer to you than your nose. The other side of it is, though, a certain discipline is required to actually hold yourself in the obvious. And that's the paradox that I don't think anybody ever fully comes to rest with. Because on the one hand, it really is an acknowledging of this ever-present condition. But on the other hand, there are certain relative things you can do to hold yourself in that shower more and more effectively. And so, in a sense, we try to sort of be kind of clear that integral transformative practice is all the things you do on the manifest side of the street. They're all the things you do, I'd say in the world of samsara, but we don't want to, you know, samsara and nirvana are not two. But on the samsara side of the street, it's all these things you can do. You can lift weights, you can do shadow work, you can do growth and development, you can do taking the role of other, you can do ethical practice, and all of those are important. You don't want to strain yourself on that side of the street. But they do, in a sense, make this vehicle ever more resonant for that always already true, that ever present, already free self. that you're aware of. And so why are we here in that sense? I mean, on the one hand, I think people that are pursuing this just increasingly intuit that ever-present reality. And they also find that not living up to that, if you're only living on the manifest side of the street, all you have are different ways of suffering. On the actual manifest side of the street, there are just variations on being tortured. And that's pretty much what we all kind of intuit. I mean, the Buddha's first noble truth is that everything is suffering. But that's a very, very common understanding in the contemplatives. Christian mystics say that suffering is the first grace. And so it's that keen understanding that really fundamentally we're suffering, and coupled with an intuition of this ever-present absolute condition that you are, that in a sense brings us here. And does that mean that we were more open to it, you know, in a previous life? Possibly. Is it part of an ongoing soul's trajectory where lessons we learn here are carried forward? Possibly. But those third-person things are harder to prove than those first-person realities, which is that you understand both of these things. You understand this ever-present condition, and you understand to the extent that you're not living that, you're only suffering. And it's that combination of things, I think, that sort of brings us here. And that's the soul's trajectory, in a certain sense, is coming to terms with that paradoxical, ever-present situation.